I said it's either now or never.
A staple figure in the Maltese culinary industry.
I always wanted the dream of my life to have my own restaurant.
What was that like for you working with your father?
I didn't even have a wage in those days. I used to live with my tips.
Your restaurant, Ta Kris, has had some complications lately.
You find all the odds against you. I said, you sold the place and you don't even tell me. I had people phone me and say, listen, you're closed, eh? I said, we're closed. No, we're not. Why?
Is there something about preserving Maltese culture that drives you?
I see that us Maltese are not too proud of what we can do.
Do you think that those values of hospitality are starting to get lost?
They told me, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do Ta Kris in Gżira.
I'm joined today on the ZIGZAG podcast by a staple figure in the Maltese culinary industry. Welcome to the podcast, Chris. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you for having me.
Of course. You're best known for making traditional Maltese food in your iconic restaurant in Sliema.
Yes.
I'm curious to know how you got into the culinary industry and if you had any influences that pushed you into this line of work.
Well, it started off since I was a little kid, actually, young. Finishing school, at the age of 16, not knowing much what to do, thinking when you're young, that you want to do this and you want to do that and become an engineer or an astronaut or something, But my father decided my father was an engineer, and one time he had a customer, a friend of his, going around Mdina, and he came across a place that he thought this would make a fantastic restaurant. And he went by his dream and, started off in 1976. We opened a restaurant in Mdina. And, of course, I was still at school, so I used to finish school and keep on going straight to work, at the restaurant. And, of course, it became part of my life. After that, I went to catering school for 3.5 years. And doing catering management, all with individually. And that's where my life kicked off, sort of, My father's restaurant lasted for about nearly 20 years, 19 years actually. And of course, I always wanted the dream of my life to have my own restaurant. But seeing that the place that my father had was an occasional place, people used to keep it for occasions, and it was quite busy and quite well known. I decided I wanted something like home thing, sort of, because it became almost impossible when you want to go out and have something homely. You don't find anywhere. And this is where I started to think I should have a restaurant doing home-style food, sort of, Mm-hmm. It took a lot of years, After my father closed down, I went to work in hotels and hotel management and all that stuff. But then, about 25 years ago, I said it's either now or never, So I found a place in Sliema, and I went by my dream and, continued, pursued, actually, something that I thought would really work out. And thank God it has.
And what was that like for you as a young man working with your father?
Not simple, working with family is, they depend a lot on you and they expect a lot from you. Of course, I used to finish school. I used to arrive in the afternoons, late afternoon, and my father used to say, right, it's up to you now. I'm off 5 o'clock, and he used to go home, and the rest is my responsibility, sort of, So at the age of 16, you start to grow up with certain responsibilities, and it's not easy. It's not easy. I didn't even have a wage in those days. I used to live with my tips, because you're working for the family, and then you go out and you meet friends, and you have to be careful. You have to set yourself properly because, other people are working and have money in their pocket, and you have to limit yourself to, But it creates character, It creates what you are.
And did you always have a love for cooking, or was there any meals or dishes part of Maltese culture that maybe paved the way for you?
It's not the love for cooking. You grow up in the catering trade. You do catering, you're there, you're part of a team. So, yes, you're running taking orders, running into the kitchen, helping out with the rest of the stuff. Originally, that's how I started off, although I could cook. But and then my mother was a very good cook, always. Her tastes were always fantastic, so much so to this very day I call her and say, Mom, remind me, how is that done exactly, And that's where, you start to, when I opened my restaurant, then I was the chef padron. So yes, I did the cooking, I did everything. I set the systems, and that's, and it becomes part of you, part of your life.
And you mentioned that you worked in hotels for a bit. What was it like in that in-between phase for you? Can you tell us why you did this? And when you were doing it, were you just thinking about getting back into the culinary industry?
Thinking about going back into the restaurant was always there. The dream is always there, It's not easy. Having your own restaurant takes a lot of expenses, a lot of energy. Making your own thing is hard. Very hard, and you really have to really want it, because the ifs and the buts that you find coming towards you is very hard, But yes, going into it teaches you a lot, It was a transactional period, sort of, where you left the family business. You worked almost from morning till night, You go into a hotel, systems are different, completely different. I was the first person employed at the Westin, the second actually person employed at the Westin. I was given volumes of POSs, systems of work, and I was given read them, study them, implement them, And when I was employed, the hotel was still being built. I did 2.5 years running all the outer catering areas, and it teaches you a lot. Handling people, different mentalities. It's good.
And what was it about hotels that made you decide to work in them?
Like I said, it was moving out from the restaurant. I mean, when you have a restaurant like we used to work in at Dina, which was a very well-known restaurant and quite an upmarket restaurant. You want to have different experiences. I didn't know what I was going to do. A friend of mine called me and said, "Listen, I heard that your father just sold out and you're out of work at the moment." I said, "Yeah." I said, "But it's only been a month, So he said, "Come over. My boss would like to speak to you." So I went, and straight away from the day after, I was working. And I started off at the Diplomat Hotel in Sliema. It was just been opened, and spent 4.5 years there, and moved out from there thinking I was going to something a bit bigger. But it didn't work out. After some time, I went to the Westin, which was just being built, and just opening. So I spent 2.5 years there, and then it was either now or never, So I said, now is the time, and.
And how do you view that period in your life where before you opened your restaurant and after you stopped working with your father? Do you see it as wasted time, or do you think the lessons you've learned were so valuable that it was worth it?
Working in hotels taught me a lot, as I said, The transactional period, it was like a rest, Running a restaurant gives you a lot of pressure, urgency. I mean, something that people don't realize. From when an order is taken to the time that the food is coming out, there is a lot of pressure on the staff, especially in the kitchen. There's urgency. You have a few minutes and you want to start producing food. You can't leave people wait. And the busier it is, the more pressure you have, because there isn't time to take it easy. Let's move, let's go, So yes, that transitional period between one and the other was, won't say a godsend, but yes, it helped a lot, a lot.
I know myself from my hospitality experience that the restaurant atmosphere can be very stressful. So I don't blame you for that. But when you're talking about how you decided it was now or never to start your restaurant, was there anything else that you were considering doing? Was there any other passion that you had that you considered exploring?
Not really, to be honest with you, because it becomes part of your life. It's the everyday thing. I mean, it's molded you. That's what you're molded into, you know. So yes, I had to do it. I had to do it. My father told me, listen, there's an old place behind where we live in Sliema. You know, it was an old bakery. Why don't you try and see what we can do out of it? I said, Dad, let's go see it. You know, it was a broken down old bakery. It was about 8 years old, all separate rooms, all closed up. Straight away you go in and you start imaging how, where, why, what to do, where the places of the things should be. And once you start thinking that way, that's all you're driving. You know, you're in the driving seat, sort of. You have to go. And we arranged with the people. We took it over on a 25-year contract. And thank God, from the first day, I mean, we started off to this very day, we never looked back. Thank God, you know. But it's not easy. It's not easy.
And you found that place in Sliema was near where you lived?
Where my father, but right behind where my father lives. It's in an alleyway, you know.
Yeah.
So even people used to tell me, where are you taking? That's an alleyway. Who's going to go there, sort of, you know. But no, it will work out.
Yeah, because Sliema, of course, is filled with traffic and construction and all of that sort of thing. So was there a reason why it was Sliema for you? Other than...
No, it was just the place that I found ideal for what I thought would work out, especially when I came up with the idea of having Maltese food, you know. I mean, where else, Sliema is a very touristic area. So I thought having a combination of Maltese and tourists would be the right combination, sort of, you know, for something that can really work out, especially with what I was going to create. Because even, I'd always look at myself. Sometimes I used to have a meet up with my girlfriend and we used to say, where are we going to eat? And because I'm always at the restaurant and always having restaurant food, sort of, you know, and plate of pasta here and there and whatnot, you know. Sometimes you feel like, let's go somewhere homely, let's go have something, you know. I miss it. I don't have time to cook at home. I'm never at home, actually. Never. I mean, don't forget that you start off during the day and your main work is late at night. You know, so I get home at 2, 3 in the morning sometimes, you know, and I eat at work. You finish from the kitchen, at 1 o'clock in the morning, I set table, and the staff all eat, and we go home, you know, and we talk about our evening and what happened and what not, and how we can improve this and that. And so that's why I even wanted it even more, to have something Maltese, something homely more than, you know, anything else. And it kicked off, you know. And
how did your father feel when you decided to start your own restaurant after him?
I was very happy.
Yeah.
My father was already retired. My father created the restaurant that he did with his own hands in Mdina, because my father was an engineer, but whatever he imagined or his eyes saw, he could do with his hands. You know, and we did my restaurant together, you know, it took us nearly 2 years, you know, fixing up the place, because as I said, it was a rundown old bakery, you know, but thank God, you know, I mean, with hard work and going by this and do that, and we got in people and they let you down, you know how things are, unfortunately, you know, you get a company that says, yes, they're going to come in and do the work for you. They start 1-2 days and then they're off doing something else, you know. And yes, it took a long time, 2 years, but it really worked. And I thank God for that. And of course, it's all mostly my father's work and myself, because I was, you know, doing something in between. I had a small place in Valletta in between just to keep me going, to have some money, and at the same time doing the restaurant in Sliema, doing it up. So my father phones me and said, listen, you have to go and buy me the gypsum boards. You have to go and get me this, and you have to buy cement. And I need so much cement. I had a small car. I loaded it with cement bags and everything. It was touching the floor one time, I had the policeman running after and said, what are you doing here, I said, listen, I don't have what to carry it. And, but that's how it was,
Yeah. And I love the idea of having the homely restaurant. And of course, you serve Maltese food. So is there something about preserving Maltese culture that drives you to serve these dishes?
Yes, unfortunately, as Maltese, I see that as Maltese are not too proud of what we can do, we open a lot of, when it comes to restaurants, Italian restaurants and this and that, and which are all good and all very nice, and I visit them, but I believe a lot in what the Maltese food and the tastes and everything else, and there are very little restaurants that can offer that, and the foreigners especially, they look out for these things like I do when I go abroad. I want to try something traditional. I want to try something. That's what we look out for when we go abroad. I mean, I don't want to go abroad and have a steak unless it's some out of this world place where it is renowned for, and you have to go and try it, because this is a world-renowned steakhouse or something, But I mean, it's nice to be able to go and try the traditional and the things that you find that you don't find over here, and that's what I believe in.
And what's it like having a small business in Malta? What's the catering industry like for smaller restaurants like yourself?
It's not easy. It's not easy. I start off, you find all the odds against you a lot of times. Even when I started off, I went for my permits the first time. I said, I'm going to have a restaurant in Sliema to the authorities, and they told me, okay, Sliema, it has to be either a first-class restaurant or a team restaurant. I said, what do you mean, first-class restaurant? No, fully first class. Tablecloths, crystal glasses, silverware, I said, you must be kidding. I said, for what? For a tourist running in, in strapless T-shirts and who's going to come into a first-class restaurant, with flip-flops and all that stuff? Are you kidding me or what? And team restaurant, I said, what are you talking? Oh, team restaurant. We know the team restaurants, that there are in Sliema. Burger places and this and that, And I said, all right, I'll have a team restaurant. He told me, what is it? I said, Maltese. He said, that's not a team. I said, of course it is. I said, why? Does it have to be a burger place or something like that to be a team restaurant? I said, it's going to be Maltese. He even tried to put me off on that. He said, you have to give me the menu now. Little did he know that I was the chef padron. I said, now. I said, I have to fix the place. It's 2 years down the road till I get everything ready. No, you have to give me everything now. Not a problem. Give me a pen and paper. I gave him pen and paper. I gave him a full menu. He kept looking at me. I said, what, this is what you... I said, yeah. I said, that's Maltese food. This is what I'm going to do. And most of the things I wrote down are still on the menu to this very day, from 25 years ago.
And what is your most popular dish?
No doubt about it. It's the bracioli, that's famous bracioli, and the rabbit. They're the two most moving items that I have on the menu. They fly. We do something like almost 500 bracioli a week.
Wow.
That's quite...
And what's your main clientele?
We started off when we opened, we were 70-30 Maltese with foreigners. Now it changed completely to 70-30 foreigners with Maltese. Being where we are, you expect it. It keeps us quite busy. So that's how it is,
And do you have a lot of regular customers who kind of...
I have a lot of even locals and foreigners. I have a lot of regular foreigners that come even visiting Malta from time to time, and they come to us all the time. I have a lot of Maltese. They even have their favorite tables. I have certain people. Oh, Mrs. So-and-so is coming. Table 15. All right. Mr. So-and-so is coming. Make sure you have table 1 available. Even if it's booked, that's
That's their table.
They come there and they want their... You see, people like to feel wanted. People like to feel greeted, and that's one of the main things. I remember even when I was doing my training during catering school, I was sent to the best hotel that there was in Malta, which was the Phoenician those days, And I used to hear staff that were working there for years and years. And Mr. So-and-so is coming. Make sure that the table at the back by the window is available, because that's where they come and sit all the time, So they had their own, and it made the people feel wanted, feel special. They're thought of, we're part of, the place now, that we're part of the family, and that's restaurant business is built a lot on trust. They trust you feeding them, they trust you taking care of them, and you can't falter. You have to be very careful because they know what you usually give them. So you have to make sure that it's done that way, or a bit more special actually today. So you have to be able to know how to go to the people, talk to them. Even if they're the first timers, you have to break the ice, make them feel welcome. Hi, how are you? Come in, let me show you to a table, and people feel more at home,
And on the scene now, the restaurant scene, there's so many chain restaurants and fast food. Do you think that those values of hospitality are starting to get lost a bit?
One of the things that makes people get what is making lost, actually, what is getting lost is us Maltese were known for our Maltese hospitality. And unfortunately, I don't know why, and I don't know what happened since COVID onwards mostly. You don't find a Maltese person working anywhere. In restaurants, in shops. I go to a shop sometimes, and I have nothing wrong with that. I mean, I have a lot of... my place is like the United Nations, I mean, I have people coming from all over the world. So I have no problem with that at all. But there is no Maltese hospitality anymore because you don't find Maltese. All right, they're hospitable, they're nice people and all that stuff, but they don't have the culture that we grew up with, They don't have that, I remember when I used to work with my father's restaurant, I just started off, we used to have people coming from abroad. And they used to say, we're going to Valletta tomorrow, we don't know what to see, or we're going here and there. I used to have time in the morning, let's say it's a Saturday and I'm off from school or something, or catering or something. I said, listen, you're going to Valletta tomorrow? I'll show you around, don't worry.
Wow.
What do you mean you show me around? Tomorrow morning I'm off. I'm working afternoon tomorrow, so let's meet up somewhere and I'll show you around. Because they come in regularly, you become like friends with them, and but that's how we were. That's how us Maltese were. You're not going to find that anymore, that's for sure, But that's the one thing that is getting missing. Mm-hmm. We're everywhere, even in shops. I used to go to a shop before, and I speak Maltese sometimes. I go in and say, can I see this or can I see that? And English, please. Oh, sorry, I thought you were Maltese.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. But there isn't that, hospitable atmosphere. We're losing out a lot on that, unfortunately.
And I know in a lot of European countries, hospitality and service were culturally valued as very important.
It still
art
is.
Forms, even like to serve someone in a restaurant or to be attentive. And I think that is getting lost.
You have to build it into the staff nowadays. They're not like we were. It was installed in you, maybe because that's how we were born, that's how we were in our families, get this for grandma, go here and go there, do the shopping, and it's, so you grow up with that. The foreigners are not like us. Nothing wrong. You have to show them I have some very good stuff. You show them. Actually, the people that come in, even the Maltese people, they tell me, wow, how nice your stuff are. Because you show them, you train them, you tell them how, you know. And yes, they work very well, and they're good people, and I have absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it still is different.
Of course.
You know?
I know from my own experience in Ireland, service is not really seen as something that should be valued, really. So I always notice when I go abroad in Europe, and the waitresses and waiters are so kind and attentive. So it's interesting that is part of the...
I remember some time ago, my girlfriend and I were in Italy, northern part of Italy. And in Malta, let's start off from there. In Malta, when you used to go and shop somewhere, they used to wrap the things up late in the 60s, you know, late 60s and 70s. They used to wrap it up in paper, put a ribbon around whatever you bought, especially if it's in a shop with some clothes or something like that, you know. That's completely lost. You don't find that anywhere. But we went to Italy, into this village, and we went to a shop and bought, I don't recall what it was, we bought something. And this lady rolled out the paper, wrapped it up, put it in ribbon, and we looked at each other and said, wow, you remember we used to have this here? Oh, how nice it is. We thanked her so much, you know. I was in France looking at a shoe shop. I had no intention to buy. I was just having a look while my girlfriend was seeing another shop. And they had some nice shoes and all this. So I walked in and I looked at them. And the next thing you know, I turned my face, and this Frenchman, an elderly man, had a whole selection of shoes, my size, 43, on the counter. He said, have a look. I said, I'm only here to see, you know, but no, have a look, doesn't matter. This is what we can, how nice. He knew straight away, looked at me and he knew straight away, they were all 43. He didn't even have to ask me what size I wear, you know. And he had a full selection of shoes waiting for you on the counter there, you know. Wow. You know, you don't find that anymore anywhere you go. All you see nowadays, you walk into a place, not just here in Malta, everywhere. All right. People on the mobile, people playing around, and they looked and they just nod at you, sort of, you're in, okay, don't disturb me. I'm on my mobile, you know. And there's no hospitality, no service anymore. It's very difficult. But yes, it does come to you as a pleasant surprise when you find somebody that can do that service nicely. You know?
I think it's very nice how you've taken the Maltese culture in a couple of different ways, in the food and the hospitality. But of course, your restaurant, Ta Kris, has had some complications lately. Can you tell us a bit about the obstacle you're facing?
Complications you find always during work. It's not complications, actually. It's that we had a 25-year contract, and last December, our 25 years are up. Last December. I've been running after the owners of the place for a whole year, at least, telling them, asking them, listen, what's going to happen? Oh, they told me, you know, the place is in Sliema, you know, it's a good area. Of course, it's popular now. We made it a popular place, you know. We're expecting, because they want to sell as a whole block, not just the restaurant, you know. They used to live above, and they have 2 stories, and they want to sell it as a block. So I gave them my offers, and the first 2, they looked at me and said, is this your offer? I said, yeah. I said, why? I think they're very good offers. They said, no, we're expecting much more. So I gave them a 3rd offer, and they never answered me. I said, well, what's going on? So I phoned them a couple of times. After I was a bit very concerned and starting to get a bit angry, funnily enough, you know. I said, listen, I can't keep on going like this. I said, you have to give me an answer. What's going on? I have 30 staff working with me. I cannot have, come December, close the doors and tell everybody, thank you very much, bye-bye. You know? Oh, he told me, the place is gone already. I said, what do you mean the place is gone? He said, we sold the place. I said, you sold the place and you don't even tell me? I have right of first refusal, you know. It's not easy to find another job, to find another place. I said, so what am I going to do? I said, no, you have time. We'll give you some time and, you know, see what you're going to do. We had some discussions and they first decided to give me a 6-month extension till June. And when we came to do the contract, they told me, we're going to give you till August. So we have till August of this year. In the meantime, of course, I had to spearhead and see where I'm going to see what I'm going to do, you know. So finding a place is not very easy, especially to fit in what you want. I wanted it to be in Sliema, of course, you know, to keep on where we are and where the people know me. But, well, I didn't find in Sliema, so I found one nearby on the strand in Gżira, you know. And a friend of mine called me, actually. He told me, listen, there's a place, it hasn't come on the market yet. Would you like to come and see it? I said, where is it? He said, it's on the strand in Gżira. Oh, I said, that's not bad. I said, let's go see it. So I went, I said, yeah. I said, that's it, you know. We had to have an arrangement with the person that was in there, you know, and with the owners, was of course the owners, and it's a different place. And we arranged and we took it over. And I took it over. My goodness, a lot of work to be done in it. We had to take it apart completely. It was a place running for 11 years. I thought I'm going in and, you know, just clean up the place, paint it to what I want, give it the image that I want, and off we go. A month and a half to the most. No, it's a completely different ball game now. You had to take everything. I had to take everything apart. The ceiling and the electricity and most of the plumbing, everything, and start from scratch. I would have been happier to have a place in shell form and do it the way I wanted it than having to take everything apart and starting from new again. But thank God it's working. Hopefully within a month and a half we'll be ready to go, and hopefully we'll have the place in Gżira running and the place in Sliema, you know, finishing off little by little, and, you know, and getting the people to know that we're going to be in Gżira, you know.
And other than the construction that you're going to have to work on, how are you approaching your clientele? Is there challenges with explaining the situation?
Yes. I had people phone me and say, listen, you're closed, eh? I said, we're closed. No, we're not. Why? Oh, because we saw your sign coming soon and we thought, you know, no. It's not the idea. I said, we're still open and we're going to be there till August, you know. But yes, we're fixing up a place because we're going to have to move eventually. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of our local customers, even foreigners, sitting at table and calling me over and asking, listen, we hear that you're closing down. No, we're not. You have to explain to the people, no, we're not closing down. We're moving. We're moving because our contract has, you know, expired, and we're going to have to move to somewhere else, you know. So yes, it's hard. It's a heartache, you know. It's not easy. It becomes like home, you know. You spend more time there than you do at home. Yeah? But it gives you something looking forward also, sort of, you know. Although it's sad that you're leaving something that you built from nothing, but yes, it's something that I'm trying to, persuade myself that, listen, we're going into something now and they're going to have a new adventure, sort of, you know, with all the others, you know.
And are you worried about your clientele losing some of them, or do you have faith that your brand will follow you everywhere?
I'm sure that it's going to take time for people to get used to us not being where we are. I'm sure. But being where we're going to be, we're not hidden in some side street or something. I think it will take time, but it will pick up. A lot of people tell me, oh, you're going to a place, it's much better there than where you are now, in an alleyway. Yes and no at the same time. You know, it is true that it's open, it's a place that people pass by constantly, but it's not home, if you know what I mean. It's not where people know you. It's not where people are used to finding you. But I'm sure that it will pick up. It will take time, but it will pick up.
And what's your plan for the new restaurant? Do you plan on making it the same as the one in Sliema, or rebrand a little bit?
I'm going to try and mold it to what it is, what I have, yes. Even the owners of the place, when I took it over, they told me, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do Ta Kris in Gżira, exactly with the same paint work, with the same image and everything. Oh, shouldn't you make it modern, they told me. Why keep it on the... Because that's the homely image that it has. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would like to keep, especially when you're moving. Just imagine, people know you as it is, as a homely place, you know, and then you're moving into somewhere different with a different image, modern and all that stuff. When you go in, the people are going to look around and say, okay, but it's not Ta Kris, eh? It's different. So I want to create that image where, you know, people walk in and say, it's an extension of what you had. It's nice, it's good, you know, and that's what I'd like to create. People tell me you should create something new. I think I'd rather keep what not what I know best, but what I know that the people would like.
Of course.
A customer last night, actually, called me over and he said, you're going to be moving. He said, but are you going to keep the same atmosphere and the same type of place? I said, yes. I said, that's exactly what you see is what you're going to get on the other side. That's good. He said, because whenever we come from, I'm not quite sure where he came from, actually. He said, this is what we look out for. It's very difficult to find a place that's homely and typical like this, he said, anywhere, even abroad. He said, so we look forward to coming to this place, he said. So I said, that even persuaded me even more, sort of, you know, that's the image I should keep.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't take it that way, no. But no, it is an image that has, that people got used to knowing.
Of course, yeah.
You know?
I know what you mean. So you've obviously had a very interesting journey, and it's going to be great to see how the new restaurant plays out for you. We're asking all of our interviewees a couple of questions. So these are just kind of our zigzag questions. So what is success to you?
It's not a very simple question. It can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. I don't consider success money, although a lot of people go, you know, success is the happiness that you get out of what you're doing. And the satisfaction. And what even gives me greater satisfaction out of it is the satisfaction that people get when they eat there. You know? Mm-hmm. So to me, if I know that people left the area, left that place, and were very happy, that to me is success. It's not the money that I made with those customers. It's actually, I never considered money to be anywhere in the whole thing, except when you come and pay for things, of course, you know, which makes it very difficult, especially the way the prices are going up nowadays. But no, success is feeling comfortable, feeling happy, doing what you like doing, and seeing what you do being appreciated and being well accepted by the people. To me, that is the definition of a good success.
That's a great outlook. And on a less positive note, how would you define failure?
Oh my goodness. I'm fed up, annoyed. I'm exactly opposite of everything else. I'm not satisfied with what you're doing. I don't know. I'd rather not think of that because you go through a lot in life and a lot of ups and downs, but the downs, I don't consider the downs as failure. The downs are things that you learn from. The downs are things that you pick up from, you pick yourself up from also. You go through downs in life, you know. I mean, just when I was doing this place, you know, I had a very small place in Valletta. It was like a cafe, you know, for a short while. And it never gave me enough money to. It was just a period where I had to find out and find a place and do what I really wanted to do, you know. But there were times when I had to pay for the things that I was doing within the place. I didn't have enough money to go home and pay my utility bills. I have nothing shy to say about that, you know. Failure, it's a downward thing, but I wouldn't consider it as failure. It's something that gave me a drive, actually, because it made me work harder to make sure that what I'm going to do is going to be successful, that it's going to be well worthy of the lack of things that I'm going through, you know, just to make sure that I have, you know, that I have with what to move on, sort of, you know.
And is there any book, film, podcast, person who has inspired you to have this type of mindset that we can share with our listeners?
When it comes to books, films, a lot of things influence your way of life. I would say that my father was one of the images that I would say would have driven me on, sort of, you know. The way he thought about things, the way he moved on, the way he created things, you know. It makes you think that nothing is impossible, even when you thought, how is he going to do this, you know? There was a time when we were doing something at the restaurant that my father had, and everybody thought it was impossible to do, you know. My father just looked at it, asked for a rope and a couple of items, you know, put it together and said, here you are, ready. And everybody just looked at each other and said, oh my goodness, how does his brain work that way? How the hell do you do that? You know?
Yeah.
And that gives you a lot of strength inside, sort of, you know, that, yes, if you think properly and you think what you want to do and how you want to do it, yes, one way or the other, you will find a way of doing it. And that is what will drive you. That's what will make you move on. And yes, I think my father had a big influence on that for me, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's lovely. Thank you so much for talking to us today, Chris. Your story is very interesting, and I'm sure that it'll inspire a lot of people out there who want to start their own business. And as you said, it's now or never. Take the leap. So thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you very much.